What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are back again with another video regarding Chantel and Pedro. But before we get into it, let's start off by giving a big massive shout out to every single person that is a member of the channel, that is a member of Patreon, and that is a subscriber as we continue to grow. Now, here's the thing though, ladies and gentlemen, in this video itself in particular, I'm about to read to you a caption that was posted by 90 Day Chisme, and also a post that they also posted to at least back up their claims around the situation with Chantel and Pedro when it comes to the whole hoo-ha with the 250K that has now been taken out of the account by Chantel. Now, here's the thing. The other day, I made a video. In fact, I made two videos back to back. Okay, I made a video where I was talking about how this money that Chantel took was her money because allegedly it had been a money that she inherited from a trust fund account. This video is legit contesting that the trust fund account did not exist. But then I also made another video showing that the money from the trust fund account was transferred to a business account involving a business account that was joint between Chantel and Pedro, a business account that was actually opened about a month before the Family Chantel TV show started. So bear that in mind as well, because that is actually a big factor to the proof that was given in this video that I've basically counted. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it real quick. So this is the caption itself in particular, and at the very top, it says, so it starts off by saying, well, this is some BS LOL. So let's dissect this entire topic. Now, what this post is actually, or this caption is actually referring to, is the trust fund, saying that the trust fund is BS, it didn't exist, and it is pretty much people making up stories in a nutshell to stir up the pot. Now, as you can see, the very first line, number one, says it was not a trust account. It was a business account with funds that both parties acquired over 65 years. Now, this is a screenshot that obviously 9days decided to upload, showing that obviously it's a checking/savings account. And obviously it is titled Pedro and Chantel LLC. Well, like I said a second ago, ladies and gentlemen, I've already made two videos anyway back to back. And in one of those videos, I actually explain that the money from the alleged trust fund account had actually been moved from the trust fund all the way to their business account, which was actually titled Pedro and Chantel. So therefore, this screenshot itself in particular, talking about how not a trust fund actually doesn't even matter. I believe that I must have got information before the creator of this post. So this one itself in particular is actually not even relevant, but I wanted to put it out there because, of course, it's a part of the whole the whole it's a part of the whole video in terms of trying to call out the situation in terms of the trust fund not existing. So that was one of the proofs to show the trust fund did not exist, but sadly it doesn't actually prove that because I already made a video talking about the money being transferred from the trust fund, well, the alleged trust fund, shall I say now, to the savings/business account. So there you go. Okay. Now, but with that being said, though, let's continue with the rest of this post. And the reason why I'm making this video, to be fair, is because I want to know if there were some things in this video that you feel like maybe are definitely strong and definitely true that maybe I've missed out in my previous videos. But we'll go from there, ladies and gentlemen. Now, of course, it does obviously start off there at the very top again, saying that it was a business account with funds both parties acquired over 6.5 years. Now, obviously, on number two, itself in particular says, for broke bees in the back talking shiz, it's not hard to save up 200K over this period of time or even sooner if you stopped spending money on shit you don't need and have a partner with the same goals. Now, again, this is where I contested. Now, really into it, ladies, anything that I contest, I really want you guys to let me know whether you agree or whether you agree with what I'm saying or if you agree with obviously what the post is saying, particularly because, of course, this post is made on the knowledge that the creator has, and my one is based on knowledge I have. Okay, so for my knowledge, here's the thing: when it comes to Chantel and Pedro, they've been together for around about 7 years, and we know that at the very beginning, financially, it wasn't something that was great. It wasn't something that was powerful, especially once Pedro came to the States, because we knew that he was unable to work at the very beginning. And obviously, once he was able to get work, it was simply just some warehouse work. And also, for at the time, Chantel was never doing anything, was never really working any jobs that were like extravaganza, right? Per se. So, really and truly, saving at that moment in time, yes, it potentially could have been possible, but saving a lot of money wouldn't have been possible. And we do know that Chantel was recently only really become a nurse, and we know that Pedro's only recently become a realtor as well. So what, that's like a year, maybe 2 years now they've been doing that. I think it's about a year, isn't it? So they wouldn't be able to accumulate, near enough 200k by the space of a year or 2 years or whatnot. In addition to the money, of course, they would have earned before, because like I said before, the money they would have earned before wouldn't have been that much because they wasn't working these jobs that were crazy. But also at the same time, let's talk about the spending, because the post does talk about spending, and talking about, if you stop spending money, then you can save your money, which is true. If you stop spending, you can save money. But we know that Chantel and Pedro are people who are pretty much into their design and high quality stuff. I mean, we've seen them on the TV shows with the clothes that they wear. They don't wear cheap ones. Even in the most recent season, Chantel spoke about her jewelry. She spoke about her clothes. Those are, obviously, even Pedro's clothes as well. And we know the things that they're not wearing aren't things that are cheap to the slightest. Of course, these things can be gifted as well. Don't get it twisted. But again, they're not cheap to the slightest. And of course, there were references of what they bought each other as well. So even that alone tells me that even if they were saving, which probably was saving, I don't think saving would have been that much. And also, let's not forget, they recently just got their own property as well. So, given the fact they recently got that property as well, you'd think a lot of money potentially would have also gone into that property. So, them still having that 250k plus is still like, okay, where did that money come from? Do you see what I'm saying? So, for me personally, when it comes to the whole idea of the trust fund, it is something that I'm still leaning more towards. But point number three will definitely contradict me still kind of leaning more towards it. But it all comes down to point number three is true, of course. Now, as you can see, number three says Chantel's parents are some regular ass people living in a 3 or 4 bedroom 2BA property that was assessed at 92k as of 2021, in which they took out a mortgage loan to buy it at 189k in 2018. In fact, prior to that, they were even evicted from the place they were renting. Now, of course, I don't know if that is factual. I don't know if that's true. But of course, end of the day, like I said before, I have my information. The creator of this place obviously has this information. And of course, if what they're saying here is true, does it then confirm that there was no trust fund? You can say yes and you can say no. Because I remember when I did make a video, I did obviously say that from my research, from my understanding, that the trust fund money was money that Karen had actually inherited herself from her parents, that she then put in the trust fund to benefit her children, so therefore they could inherit it at a certain age. So given that that is true, that would explain the trust fund being real, and it would explain why the money would have grown, or all that kind of stuff. But given that that isn't true, well, then it means obviously there's still, and then obviously that would back up that the statement here that the trust fund can't be real because they wasn't earning enough money to be saving. But then again, at the same time, though, I don't know what jobs Karen and her husband were working at the very beginning of their relationship before they even had children, and if they started and when they started saving. But also at the same time, though, here's the thing: this is where it gets a bit sticky. If we are contesting that there is no trust fund, but then I'm telling you that there's no way these two could have saved that much money in 6.5 years based on their timeline of work and also expenses, well, then it still leaves the question of where did the money actually come from, which is why obviously I'm still leaning more towards the trust fund purely because I don't think that their timeline of finances would accumulate to that price. Now, also, let's not forget though, yes, they did earn money from the show for both 90 Day Fiance and as well as the Family Chantel show as well. But is that money enough for them to really accumulate that amount of money within the last 4 seasons? Well, then that is quite subjective, isn't it? To be honest with you, I'm going to say no because TLC aren't really a network that will pay you tons of money. If anything, they'll put you out there. And now, when I say put you out there, they can put you out there where you get sponsors. Now, let's say Chantel and Pedro have been getting sponsors all this time and they've got contracts and they're earning, a certain amount of money from sponsors. Would that help you saving the money? Yes, it would to a certain degree. But here's the thing though, the sponsors wouldn't have come in at the beginning of the 6.5 years. It would have come in maybe 4 years ago, do you know what I mean? Or maybe 2, 3 years ago. It probably would have come in probably around the time when they got off their own show. But again, though, depending on the sponsors, depending on how much money they get from sponsors, that could be a factor of where the money's come from. But if anything, from my understanding, the sponsors would have probably come more from Chantel's side rather than Pedro's side, because if you're looking at their platforms, you're looking at which one's bigger on the platform, which one's got more of a selling point. It is Chantel. So if it is Chantel getting the money from like sponsors and stuff, well, then that would pretty much say that the money is pretty much more Chantel's than it is Pedro's, regardless, isn't it now? But again, though, let's continue. But don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, everything that I'm saying is just my opinion on my own research and my own knowledge. And obviously, everything that's been said in this post is from the creator's own knowledge. So, end of the day, I don't know if this is it's not really a matter of who's right or wrong. It's a matter of you guys coming in the conversation, letting me know where do you stand based on the things that you know. You know what I mean? Because obviously, I might be saying a lot of things that I know that you also know. or I might be reading things right now that you know, and you're like, okay, no, I actually, you know what I mean? So let me know in the comment section. Don't mess about. Now, also at the same time, though, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue, it says here for number 4, Thomas is a forklift driver that has worked with the company approximately 20 years, and Karen served lunch to kids at school. Yes, remember the lunch ladies. Karen was a lunch lady. I won't lie to you. I felt like there was no need for that one there. Yes, remember the lunch ladies. Karen was a lunch lady. Hey, leave the lunch ladies alone, man. They fed us as kids. Come on, man. I know their money ain't that great. You know what I mean? They only work a couple of hours a day, but you know what, saying that though, I'm actually 10 older in a minute. Some of the food the lunch lady be cooking would be horrible. I can't lie to you. That's why I pack lunch most of the time, at least in primary school. You know, when I go to secondary school, yeah, you know. Anyway, let's get into it. She stopped working in 2019 and is dependent on the earnings of the show and Thomas's paycheck. I'm sure she's trying to do her book thing too, but really, LOL, without the shows they are doing, they have nothing. I mean, again, that is something that could be very true, but let me just put this out there as well. There are a lot of parents in this world, though, that they will save more, they will put more money in the savings for their children's futures rather than putting the money into their own hands so they can spoil themselves with, luxury, the luxury life, all these kind of things. So I'm not saying Karen's one of those parents, but I just want to neglect that could be a factor that despite, their earnings or whatever, it doesn't mean that they haven't, been saving since the day these kids were born, putting money like, I don't know, they could have been putting, I don't know, we're looking at the ages of their kids as well, they could be putting a couple of like, $10, $100 every couple, every month, week. I don't know. It could be anything. I don't know. Okay. So let's not forget that there are parents out there, to be fair with you, they will put more money away for their children than they will keep for themselves. As long as they got money for the bills, they got money to put food on the table, then they'll just keep putting money in those things. They want their children to have the best, future possible. And Karen is definitely one of those people that would definitely do what she can to look out for her children at any. So again, I'm not saying that's something that she would have done, but I'm just saying that there is a possibility as well. Okay, let's not neglect everything, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I know I should be a lawyer. You ain't gotta tell me. But anyway, let's continue with number 5. Now, looking at Pedro's family, both his mum and his sisters have great jobs. I mean, to be honest, I don't know how that's really relevant because even though they have great jobs, it doesn't really mean it answers the question of where the money has come from. But hey, I guess I'm gonna add it in there. Add it in there. I'm not sure, but maybe I missed something with that statement because it does elaborate a little bit more, and it says for Karen and Thomas's BS to try and belittle Pedro and his family. Pedro has accomplished almost 25% of what you guys have been working on for probably 30 years of marriage. Karen's parents have less money than Thomas' family. Listen, again, to be fair, I think number 5 is just literally at this point. I feel like the crate maybe got a little bit, I don't know, you just got a little bit spicy. They were like, I'm just gonna go all out. You know what I mean? So number 5 isn't really that relevant unless there's something that you've obviously picked up from that last one and you feel like you can incorporate and to make your statement and your point in the conversation. Then please most certainly please most certainly make it happen in the conversation if you dig what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, though, for me myself in particular, ladies and gentlemen, where I stand is that if based on the points that I've made, based on the points that I made here, the only problem is then where did the money actually come from? Because at the end of the day, in my opinion, I don't believe that they were able to save that much money within the last 7 years, if anything, based on timeline. You know what I mean? So the money would have had to not somewhere. And because I don't have another source of idea apart from maybe sponsors, which is a very hit or miss, I'm gonna go with that. Potentially there was a trust fund. But again, ladies and gentlemen, you let me know what you're thinking. You may have a different solution. But this is what we're here for me to make the content and you guys again the conversation, obviously let your views go loose. But nonetheless, though, ladies and gentlemen, before you go, I must remind you though, one new subscriber is better than no new subscribers. One new subscriber, it helps us grow some more. So if you're new, that one subscriber you're doing right now, fantastic. Click it, like the video too. Come on now, guys. Okay, I'm gonna be rude now. You coming in here, you don't be liking the video. Come on, man. What's going on? Anyway, don't forget to like, subscribe, and peace.